So go ahead and get out your sticky note. We're going to add something onto it. This is the last thing that you're allowed to add onto here and still be allowed to use it on your test, okay? Tangent and cotangent, we're going to have these little rest stops halfway through. So you're going to have these ones that are right in the middle. I had to upgrade from a sticky note to a note card because I use mine so much that it got super beat up. So I had to upgrade to my note card here. Now let's see who remembers their unit circle. And do you guys remember that twice more you're going to fill one out? Okay, just making sure. Right? Okay. The only pop quiz I ever get, but to be fair, you have the answers ahead of time. And it's the same numbers over and over again. So let's see, what is halfway in between? Well, it's pi over 4. And what is the good? There we go. Square root of 2 over 2, comma, square root of 2 over 2. And so the only difference is this one is going to be negative square root of 2 over 2, comma, square root of 2 over 2. You don't need the other ones. That's all I want you to put. You can put that on if your note card looks just like this, you're allowed to use it on your test. If you put anything else, I'm not going to let you. This is what you're allowed to have, okay? All right, so let's go around and do tangent. Bless you. Tangent is y over x. So for tangent, we're going to do y over x. And we're going to have these little rest stops as we go around our circle. So for the first point right here, that would be 0 over 1, which is just 0. You have the dropsies today. Is everybody with me there? 0 over 1, bless you, is just 0. All right, at pi over 4, it would be square root of 2 over 2 over square root of 2 over 2. But anything over itself is 1. Ladies, shh. All right, pi over 2, up here at the top, 1 over 0. What do you think? No, are you okay? Okay, undefined. 3 pi over 4 is right here. Now, anything over itself is 1, but it's just going to be negative 1. And then take 2. When we make it to pi, 0 over negative 1 is just 0. Now we're going to go backwards. I don't want you to draw these ones in. I just have this on here for this like exploration thing. If you went negative pi over 4, you'd be right here. Do you see where I'm pointing? That is going to end up being what? I think I heard somebody whisper it back there. Good. So since one of them's negative, it's going to come out to be negative 1. Negative pi over 2 is down here at the bottom. Negative 1 over 0. No. Undefined. Negative 1 over 0 is undefined. Now watch me point to this. Negative 3 pi over 4 would be right here. So it's your square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, but they're both negative. So negatives cancel. I'll be positive 1. And then negative pi is at the same place as positive pi. It'll be 0 over negative 1, which is just 0. So we're going to take those and put them on the graph, and you'll get to see what this last shape looks like. Yeah, so I had to go back up there anyway. So you're going to start at 0, 0. And then it was pi over 4, 1. And then undefined. And now listen to me. Here's how it's going to go. Negative 1, 0, 1, undefined. Negative 1, 0, 1, undefined. Negative 1, 0, 1, undefined. Okay, so that's how this is going to go. Negative 1, 0, 1, undefined. I saw your hand, but let me finish this, okay? And then you're going to make it go the other direction to fill the whole space here. So it's going to look like this. Did somebody raise their hand back there? I can address that now. I just wanted to finish my thought. We don't call it that, just like we don't call the U-shapes quadratic, because it is not quadratic or cubic, it is trigonometric. But yes, they are wiggles. So you're going to get an infinite number of these little wiggly things. It's pretty. That's the last shape. You have a wave for sine and cosine. You have U shapes for secant and cosecant. You have wiggles for tangent and cotangent. Isn't there a group called the Wiggles or something like that? Isn't that like a little kid thing? I've never seen, I've heard of it. Oh, you have? Okay, cool. The Wiggles. All right. So we're going to state some things about this. We're going to start with domain. So it's all x except, and we're going to take where the first asymptote is. This one's not on 0. So you take the first positive one. So where is this first positive one? It's pi over 2. Plus, however often they are happening, and they're spaced every pi apart. So every pi, you end up with another one. So pi n. Now here's the only difference between this and secant and cosecant. Do you remember how this was half of the period? For tangent and cotangent, it's the whole period. And then we're going to do range, which is actually easy for these ones. If you sweep downwards to upwards, you get what? Yeah, everything, right? And that's kind of an automatic answer for that. It's the range is going to be all reals because they go downwards and upwards forever with no breaks. It is an odd function. Again, the reason I'm bringing that up now is it's going to be important later. What is the amplitude? Since it's not a wave, none. There is not one. All of them are none for amplitude except sine and cosine. You only get an amplitude if it's a wave. And here's the one big difference. Maybe put some stars next to this. For all the others, the period was 2 pi, which was once around the circle. For tangent and cotangent, it is just 1 pi. You make these rest stops and you only make it halfway around. So tangent and cotangent has that slight difference. Instead of 2 pi, it's just 1 pi. So it only makes it halfway around for tangent and cotangent. So what I want you to try with your group is repeat the process. You're going to do literally the exact same thing I just showed you. And then I'll do it too. We'll make sure we all get the same answer. The only difference is for cotangent, when you go around the circle, how do you get cotangent? Perfect. X over Y. So go ahead and give it a shot. I'm going to pull this off of here so I can fill it out too. And we'll just all make sure we get the same thing. Here. So this is what it should look like. Well, it's almost like I've been doing this a long time, but other people are also done. So domain, it's all x except, now where is the first asymptote for this one? Yeah, 0 pi plus, and then they are happening every pi, so plus pi n. And again, that's the period. For secant and cosecant, it's half the period. For tangent and cotangent, it is because tangent and cotangent only make it halfway around. Okay. All right. So remember, the process for this is going to be the exact same. The only difference is when you do the period, instead of 2 pi over whatever, it's going to be 1 pi over whatever. So remember, these only go halfway around. Main we're going to have to wait on, but range. If you see that it's tangent and you know it's going to be the wiggles, what's your range? All reals. That's an automatic. You can get it without even doing the graph. Amplitude is also automatic. If it's not a wave, this should say none. All right, so again, here, this is where this is a little bit different. Instead of 2 pi, it's just 1 pi over whatever's in front of the x, which is 1/2. Now, dividing by a half is the same as multiplying by 2. So it will be 2 pi. So instead of 1 pi, we stretched it to 2 pi. It got a horizontal stretch. Phase shift is your left or right. Do you see anything added or subtracted inside of here? No. So I would just say 0 pi. You can say none. The reason I like to say 0 pi is because that's what's going to go right here in your table. Can't write none in your table. All right, and then vertical translation, what do you think? Yeah, 0 or none. It went up, nothing. You can write plus 0 at the end of there if you want to. So it's always nice when you start at 0. That makes life a little bit easier. And you're going to add the period, which is 2 pi. So halfway in between, it's 1 pi. And then, yep. It actually turned out to just be your unit circle. And again, if you have to make something up, that's what I want you to make up. Just take the regular old unit circle values if you need to. I want you to try though. But it doesn't matter what that says. We're going to go around our circle, but only halfway. We're going to take these rest stops and we're going to take our values and multiply them by 2. Again, how do you get tangent from your circle values? It's y over x. Okay, and then we're going to multiply it by 2. Unless it's undefined, you can't do undefined times 2. All right, so what's your first one? 0 over 1, which is just 0, times 2, still 0. All right, now we're here. Anything over itself, 1 times 2 is 2. Up at the top, 1 over 0, undefined. This will be -1 times 2 will be -2, good. And then the last one is back where you started. Listen to me. It's going to go -2, 0 to asymptote. -2, 0 to asymptote. -2, 0 to asymptote. How you're going to get your little wigglies in there. Now, these got broken down by halves. So I'm going to go to my second tick mark and call it pi. Go to my fourth tick mark and call it 2 pi. Now I know they're all halves. And we can start plotting these. So 0, 0. And then the next one's at 2. And then asymptote. And then -2, 0 to asymptote. And you can go further if you want to, but you just need 2 of the wiggles. I'm going to leave it like that before I connect mine so you can see it well. Yeah, I feel like tangent and well, if you can remember, it's only halfway around because that gets people. But if you can remember that range is automatic, amplitude is automatic. So that's 2 of the answers that are automatic. It's easy to connect. Yeah. I think sine and cosine are the easiest ones, but all right. So domain, it's going to be everything except, all right, now where's the first asymptote? Because it's not 0. Pi is the first one, plus however often they happen, which is going to be the period. So you can either just look at your table, look at your graph, or just memorize it's going to be the period, which in this case is 2 pi n. Good job. Feels like we got that. Cool. Let's try another one. So the first one is either 0 if it's 0, or the first positive one. So do you see how our first asymptote is at pi? That's how you get the first one. Yes.
Can you tell if you for some reason didn't have the period? Can you also tell by the graph?
Yes. So see how this is pi, and then the next one would be at 3 pi. You can go, oh, there's 2 pi distance in between them. That's what we're doing. All right. For this one, I will tell you from experience, and I don't know why this is, I guess just because it looks different. When that -2 is out front, it ends up bothering everybody. So if you want to scribble that out and put the -2 at the end instead of at the front, I don't know why, but that always ends up helping everybody. And then let's go and fill in the stuff that we know we can get. So range is going to be all reals, and amplitude is going to be none. So the period, again, this is what gets people. Instead of 2 pi over whatever, for tangent and cotangent, tangent is can't talk. It's 1 pi over, in this case, 4. Now, heads up. Instead of pi, we compressed it to a 4th pi. The fractions are going to get very broken up this time. So let's just do a quick review before we get there. Halves break down into fourths. Fourths break down into eighths. Good. No, you're ahead of me. Eighths break down into 16th. Good. Okay. It won't go this far, but in theory, 16ths would break down into good. Is anybody a music person? You're a music person, like quarter notes and eighths notes and 16th notes and 32nd notes. What we're doing. All right. So in 4/4 time. All right. Phase shift. You're gonna have to factor in order to get this. If you are like, I can't factor, well, first of all, you passed algebra 2, but secondly, I get that it's hard and fractions are difficult. If you can't get it, the only thing you won't be able to get is the phase shift. You'll be able to do everything else. So it only affects a very tiny portion of this. So I set up my whole framework. If you factor out 4, you're going to be left with just x, which was the whole point, minus what? Pi over 4. Good job. So your phase shift is pi over 4. It went right, pi over 4. Remember, if it goes left, you have to put a negative. You had to factor the 4 out. Pi divided by 4 just gives you pi over 4. No, I scribbled it out from the front and put it at the end because it tends to bother people if it's written out front. I've just noticed that helps. Yeah, go ahead. Do you see how it went right pi over 4? It's left and right is kind of backwards. You have to factor it out. If you don't factor it, you can't get the phase shift. But that's the only thing it affects. So if you don't factor, the only thing you'll miss is the phase shift. You'll get everything else. All right, what is our vertical translation? Yep, -2 or down 2. So pi over 4, we're going to add the period, which weirdly is also pi over 4. So a fourth plus a fourth is a half. Hold on, let me end this pass and then we're going to have fun with fractions here. Although it seems like you guys had a good handle on it, so I'm not worried. This is 1/4. This is 2/4. So we're going to have to break down to 8. All right. How many 8s is a fourth? I'm just going to write it off to the side. At 2 8s. And this would be 4 8s. So halfway between is 3 8s. I'll just sit there and let it soak in for a second. Are we okay? 2 8s, 3 8s, 4 8s. Correct. Now we're going to have to break down to 16ths. So again, I'm just going to write it off to the side. I'm going to have like another layer to this. 2 8s would be 4 16ths. 3 8s would be 6 16ths. This would be 8 16ths. Your feelings are valid. You still have to do it. You're allowed to feel that way. No, I like to affirm you though. It's hard. If you want to know how hard can it get, this is about as hard as I can make it. This is the ceiling, and you're allowed to be annoyed by it, but you still have to do it. All right. But now hold on. We have 4 16ths and we have 6 16ths. So halfway in between, but see, that wasn't so bad. And then this one would be 7 16ths. Cool. Good job. What is this? Is that like a good thing? That's true. Okay. Yeah, so it goes 4 5 6 7 8. All right. Now, hush. We're gonna do We're gonna do tangent, which is y over x. You're gonna take those values, hold it together. You're going to multiply them by a half and then subtract 2. You just do the stuff that's outside. All right, so the first one, 0 over 1, 0 times a half, 0 minus 2. All right, the next one, anything over itself is 1 times a half, minus 2, -1.5, or -3/2 if you're a fractional purist. I'll do that again because I think I lost some of you. Can you look? Watch me point to it. But I need you to stop talking. All right. Anything over itself is 1 times a half is 1/2. A half minus 2 is negative. Oh, there we got it. Okay. The next one, 1 over 0. is undefined. But you already got that one, nice. The next one, anything over itself is 1. This one's just going to be -1 times a half is -1/2 minus 2 is -2.5. And then this takes you back where you were. So listen to me. It's going to go -2.5, -2, -1.5, asymptote. -2.5, -2, -1.5, asymptote. All right. Now, how do we have to break with 16ths, right? How are we going to make sure that each tick mark is a 16th? You're going to go to the 16th one and call it pi. Now, for good measure, just to get another one in there, I would go to the 8th one and call that pi over 2, just so you at least have something else labeled. If you want to go a little bit further, you can go to the 4th one and call it pi over 4. I think that's enough, though. I probably wouldn't do more than that. You can over label and have it be too cluttered. All right, and now I'm going to start putting my points in there. At pi over 4, we're going to be at -2. That's going to kind of cover up my label there, but, so be it. And then at the next tick mark, you're at -1.5. And then the next one is undefined. And it's going to go -2.5, -2, -1.5, undefined. And again, I'll move my hand in a second. I'm trying to do it as fast as I can so I can get my hand out of there and you can see it. I'm holding on. -1.5. So it goes -2.5, -2, -1.5, asymptote. So let's go back and get the domain. It's all x except, now we have to figure out where this first one is. Each tick mark is a 16th, and it's on the second one. Do you see that? So it is 2/16. Do you see how it's the second one, which is 1/8? Good job. Plus how often they happen, which is the period, which is pi over 4n. Again, that first one, do you see how it's on the second tick mark? So 2/16, which is 1/8, plus the period n. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do the last one. Do this one right here, because it doesn't involve factoring, so it'll be a bit easier. I couldn't hear your question. Can you say it a little louder? It's where the first asymptote is. Do you see the first one right here? Yeah. It's either 0 if it's 0 or the first positive one.
Okay, if the asymptote is 0,
then it's 0. Okay. All right, we're going to do number 4. Automatic stuff. There's 2 things I can just fill in. What are they? Range is everything. If it's the wiggles, it's everything. Amplitude's none. I would actually even say vertical translation is kind of automatic as well. It's going to be 3. All right, the period is pi over whatever's in front of the x. Now, there's nothing written there, so it's a 1, which means it didn't change, just pi. So it did not stretch or shrink, which is good. Yes, but I'm not there yet. You're just a little ahead of me. All right, phase shift. Now, this is what got some of you on the quiz. It's going which direction? Left pi. So you have to put negative pi. If you don't put the negative, you're not shifting to the left. It's opposite of whatever's there. Again, you're ahead of me. You guys are quick. Some of you are really quick. Hold on. Now you're going to add the period, which is pi. So yes, negative pi plus pi is going to be nothing. So what's halfway in between those? Good. And then it will break down to fourths. So hold on though, because I don't want to leave.
Oh, so 1/4.
So now listen. That'll be negative a fourth. And then in between negative pi and negative a half pi is negative 3/4. It doesn't go past fourths. We don't like eighths too much. Okay. We don't eighths or 16ths. Well, I would never do that to you. Okay. We're gonna go around our circle. Can you guys please be quiet? All right, cotangent is x over y. So you're gonna do x over y, you're gonna multiply it by a negative, and then add 3. Okay, so the first one, x over y, 1 over 0 is undefined. The next one, anything over itself is 1 times a negative 1 plus 3 is 2. Good job. All right, up at the top, 0 over 1 is 0 times a negative is still 0 plus 3 is 3. The next one's going to be negative 1. Anything over itself is 1, but it's negative 1. But you're going to negative 1. So 1 plus 3. Now, could you guys have figured out it was 4 without doing that, though? 2, 3, 4, and then undefined. Good job. So it's going to go 2, 3, 4 asymptote. 2, 3, 4 asymptote. I'm going to go to my fourth tick mark and call it pi. Since this broke down into fourths, actually, I want to go to the left, so I should really go this way. All right, so negative pi is an asymptote. And then it's going to go 2, 3, 4, and another asymptote. Again, I'm going to try and draw mine as quick as I can so I can get my hand out of the way and you can see it. And then I'll also pause a second before I connect them so that you can see it all. Once I answer everything, I have a follow-up question for you on this one. So hold on. What's that? Oh, that's fine. It doesn't make a difference. Yes, it will. But hold on a second. See now, like everybody's all over the place. All right, so all x except, now the first asymptote is at 0 pi. It's again, either 0 or the first positive one. Plus, however often they happen, which is the period. So pi n. Real quick, this is cotangent. Cotangent is supposed to have the wiggles go downwards. Why are these ones increasing? Why are they going upwards? We reflected it. Good job.